uruyaga rw'umurima, inyenyeri mu kirere, inyoni ziririmba, umuyaga mu biti, amazi nk'umugezi, byose binyibutsa urukundo wawe. Ndagukunda, ndagukunda.
In the bustling city of Kigali, Rwanda, two teenagers from vastly different worlds find themselves drawn together by an unexpected encounter. Alice, a young girl from a wealthy family, attends the prestigious Mother Mary School. On the other side of the city, Danny, the bright and ambitious boy from a humble background, studies at Ecole Islamique Nyamirambo. His life is filled with challenges, but also with a deep sense of community and hope. Their paths cross one fateful day, sparking a connection that transcends their differences. Despite the obstacles thrown their way, from disapproving parents to societal pressures, Alice and Danny embark on a journey of love and self-discovery.
Episode 1, Love at First Sight. Alice stood at the gates of Mother Mary School, her heart fluttering with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The school's sprawling campus was a testament to its prestigious reputation, with its manicured lawns, stately buildings, and the serene chapel that stood at its heart. Alice's parents had chosen this school not only for its academic excellence but also for its social standing, hoping it would provide her with the best opportunities. Despite the pressure, Alice was determined to make the most of her time here. She was in her final year, and the stress of maintaining her top grades was relentless. Her parents' high expectations weighed heavily on her, and she often felt like she was living in a gilded cage. Today, however, she felt a strange sense of anticipation, a feeling that something extraordinary was about to happen. Across town, in the bustling and vibrant neighborhood of Nyamirambo, Danny was rushing through the crowded streets, trying to make it to school on time. Ecole Islamique Nyamirambo was not as glamorous as Mother Mary School, but Danny cherished every moment there. The school was a modest building, painted a faded blue, with a playground that echoed with the laughter of children. The teachers were dedicated, and the sense of community was strong. Danny's family struggled financially, but he never let that define him. His bright smile and infectious optimism made him a beloved figure in his community. Their paths crossed on a warm Saturday afternoon at a local youth event aimed at bridging the gap between different schools and communities in Kigali. Alice attended reluctantly, dragged by her friend Naomi, who was enthusiastic about meeting new people. Danny, on the other hand, was excited about the event. He saw it as an opportunity to learn, share experiences, then maybe make new friends. The event was held at the expansive Kigali Central Park, a verdant oasis in the heart of the city. Tents were set up, and various activities were planned, from sports to art workshops. The scent of fresh grass mingled with the aroma of street food, creating a festive atmosphere. Alice and Naomi decided to join the painting workshop, hoping for a relaxing afternoon. Danny, drawn by his love for art, also found himself at the same workshop. Alice was engrossed in her painting, her brush strokes careful and precise. She loved the way the colors blended, creating a vibrant scene of a sunset over the hills of Kigali. Her long, dark hair fell over her shoulders, and her intense green eyes reflected her concentration. As she focused on her work, she didn't notice Danny taking a seat beside her. He started sketching, his hands moving swiftly, capturing the essence of the park around them. "That's a beautiful sunset," Danny said, breaking the silence. Alice looked up, startled. She hadn't expected anyone to talk to her. She glanced at Danny and then at his sketch, which was already taking shape impressively. Danny was tall and athletic, with dark, curly hair and warm brown eyes that sparkled with kindness and intelligence. His clothes were simple but clean, a stark contrast to Alice's designer outfit. Despite their differences, there was an immediate connection between them. Thank you, Alice replied softly, her cheeks flashing. Your sketch is amazing. You're really talented. Danny smiled, his eyes sparkling with warmth. Thanks. I love drawing what I see around me. It helps me appreciate the little things. They continued to paint and sketch in comfortable silence, occasionally exchanging comments and compliments. As the afternoon wore on, Alice found herself drawn to Danny's easygoing nature and his passion for art. He was so different from the boys at her school, grounded, genuine, and kind. When the workshop ended, Danny offered to show Alice around the park. They walked together, talking about their schools, their dreams, and their lives. Alice was fascinated by Danny's stories of Nyamirambo, the place she had never visited but now wanted to explore. I'd love to see it someday, Alice said wistfully as they sat by the lake, watching the ducks glide across the water. You should, Danny replied with a grin. It's not as fancy as your school, but it's full of life and culture. I think you'd like it. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the park, they realized it was time to head home. They exchanged phone numbers, promising to stay in touch. Walking back to her car, Alice felt a sense of happiness she hadn't experienced in a long time. Meeting Danny had been unexpected but wonderful. She knew her parents would disapprove if they found out, but for now, she didn't care. She had made a friend who saw the world in a way that fascinated her. Meanwhile, Danny walked back to his neighborhood with a spring in his step. Meeting Alice had been like a breath of fresh air. She was kind, intelligent, and had a way of seeing the world that intrigued him. He couldn't wait to see her again. And so, their unlikely friendship began, blossoming from a chance meeting at a park into something neither of them could have anticipated. Episode 2, First Visit. Alice couldn't stop thinking about Danny. Their meeting at the park had left a lasting impression on her, and she found herself daydreaming about their conversations and his genuine smile. She wanted to learn more about him and his life, so when Danny invited her to visit his neighborhood, she eagerly agreed. The following Saturday, Alice made her way to Nyamirambo. The vibrant neighborhood was a stark contrast to the quiet, upscale area where she lived. The streets were alive with activity, vendors calling out their wares, children playing, and the rich scent of spices and street food filling the air. She was both excited and nervous, unsure of what to expect. Danny had given her clear directions, and she followed them, her heart pounding with anticipation. As she approached Danny's home, she was struck by the warmth and friendliness of the people around her. The houses were modest but well-kept, with colorful murals and flowers adorning the front yards. Children played in the streets, and neighbors greeted each other with smiles and waves. It was a lively community, full of energy and life. Danny was waiting for her outside his home, a small, single-story house with peeling paint but a welcoming aura. He waved enthusiastically when he saw her, his face lighting up with a broad smile. Hey, Alice. Welcome to Nyamirambo, he called out, jogging over to greet her. Hi, Danny, Alice replied, smiling back. Thanks for inviting me. This place is amazing. Danny chuckled. I knew you'd like it. Come on, let me show you around. He led her through the neighborhood, pointing out various landmarks and introducing her to his friends and neighbors. They visited a local market where vendors sold colorful fabrics, fresh produce, and handmade crafts. The market was a sensory overload for Alice, with the vibrant colors, the bustling crowd, and the intoxicating smells of spices and food. Do you want to try some samosas? Danny asked, gesturing to a nearby food stall. Sure, I'd love to, Alice replied, her curiosity piqued. They bought a few samosas and sat down on a nearby bench to eat them. The crispy, savory pastries were delicious, and Alice savored each bite. As they ate, they talked about their schools, their favorite books, and their dreams for the future. "I want to be a doctor," Danny said, his eyes shining with determination. "I want to help people in my community." "That's an amazing goal," Alice said, genuinely impressed. "I'm sure you'll achieve it." "What about you?" Danny asked. "What do you want to do?" Alice hesitated, unsure of how to put her dreams into words. "I'm not entirely sure yet. My parents want me to go into business, but I love art. I want to do something that makes me happy." Danny nodded thoughtfully. "You should follow your passion. Life is too short to do something you don't love." Their conversation was interrupted by a group of children who ran over to greet Danny. They giggled and chattered excitedly, clearly fond of him. Danny introduced Alice to them, and she found herself playing games and laughing with the kids. As the afternoon turned into evening, Danny invited Alice to his home for dinner. His family welcomed her warmly, and she felt an immediate sense of belonging. The house was modest but cozy, with simple furniture and family photos adorning the walls. The meal was simple but delicious, and Alice enjoyed every moment. She was touched by the genuine hospitality and kindness of Danny's family. After dinner, Danny walked her back to the main road where she could catch a taxi home. They stood together, the evening breeze ruffling their hair. "Thank you for today, Danny," Alice said softly. "I had a wonderful time." "I'm glad you did," Danny replied, his smile gentle. "You're always welcome here." As Alice rode home, she felt a deep sense of contentment. She had seen a different side of Kigali, one that was vibrant and full of life. More importantly, she had grown closer to Danny, and their friendship was becoming something special. Little did they know, their growing bond would soon face challenges neither of them could have anticipated. Episode 3: Love Rejection. Alice's visits to Nyamirambo became more frequent. Each time, she felt more connected to Danny and his world. The vibrant neighborhood, with its colorful murals and lively markets, had become a place of solace for her. However, the closer they became, the more difficult it was to keep their friendship a secret from her parents. They were strict and had high expectations for her, and Alice knew they would disapprove of her relationship with Danny. One evening, after a particularly joyful day spent with Danny and his family, Alice returned home feeling happier than she had in a long time. Her parents, however, noticed the change in her demeanor and grew suspicious. They had always been overprotective, and their curiosity about Alice's newfound happiness soon turned into concern. "Alice, we need to talk," her father said sternly one evening, as they sat in the luxurious living room of their large house. The room was filled with expensive furniture, elegant decor, and family portraits, but at that moment, it felt suffocating to Alice. Her mother sat beside him, her expression a mix of worry and disapproval. "We've noticed you've been spending a lot of time away from home. Where have you been going?" Alice took a deep breath, knowing she couldn't keep the truth from them any longer. "I've been visiting a friend," she said cautiously. "Who is this friend?" her father demanded. "His name is Danny," Alice replied, her voice trembling slightly. "He's a student at Ecole Islamique Nyamirambo." Her parents exchanged a glance, their expressions darkening. "Nyamirambo? Alice, what are you doing in a place like that?" her mother asked, her tone incredulous. Alice felt a surge of frustration. "Nyamirambo is a wonderful place. The people are kind and welcoming. Danny's family has been very hospitable to me." Her father's face turned red with anger. "We did not send you to Mother Mary School to associate with people from Nyamirambo. You have a future to think about, Alice. This boy is not suitable for you. Alice's eyes filled with tears. Why can't you just trust me? Danny is important to me, and I don't want to stop seeing him. Her father's expression hardened. This is not up for discussion, Alice. You will stop seeing this boy, and that's final. Alice ran to her room, slamming the door behind her. She felt trapped, torn between her parents' expectations and her growing feelings for Danny. She knew she couldn't give him up, but she also didn't want to disappoint her parents. The next day at school, Alice confided in Naomi, her closest friend. Naomi listened sympathetically, offering words of comfort and support. Maybe they'll come around, Naomi suggested. Once they see how happy Danny makes you, they might change their minds. I hope so, Alice replied, though she felt a lingering doubt. Her parents were stubborn and set in their ways. She knew changing their minds would be a monumental task. That afternoon, she met Danny at their usual spot in the park. She told him about her parents' reaction, and his face fell. I'm so sorry, Alice, he said softly. I never wanted to cause trouble for you. It's not your fault, Danny, Alice replied, taking his hand. I care about you, and I'm not going to let them dictate my life. They sat together in silence, holding hands and finding comfort in each other's presence. They knew their relationship was going to face more challenges, but they were determined to stay together. As the days passed, Alice's parents kept a close watch on her, making it difficult for her to see Danny. They monitored her phone calls and restricted her outings. Alice felt suffocated, her frustration growing with each passing day. One evening, after another argument with her parents, Alice made a decision. She called Danny, her voice trembling with emotion. We can't keep doing this, she said. I can't keep living like this, and I don't want to lose you. We need to find a way to be together, no matter what. Danny's voice was calm and reassuring. We'll figure it out, Alice. I promise. We'll find a way. And so, with their love and determination, they began to make plans for a future where they could be together, free from the constraints of their parents' expectations. Episode 4, The Escape. The tension between Alice and her parents had reached a breaking point. She could no longer endure the constant arguments and restrictions. She felt like a prisoner in her own home, and her heart ached for Danny. They had been secretly meeting whenever they could, but it was becoming increasingly difficult. One night, after another heated argument with her parents, Alice made up her mind. She packed a small bag with essentials and slipped out of the house, leaving a note on her bed explaining her decision. She knew it would hurt her parents, but she couldn't stay any longer. She met Danny at their usual spot in the park. He was waiting for her, his expression a mix of worry and determination. They embraced tightly, finding solace in each other's presence. Are you sure about this, Alice? Danny asked, his voice filled with concern. I'm sure, Alice replied, her voice steady. I can't stay there any longer. I want to be with you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Danny nodded, his resolve strengthening. All right. I've been thinking about this too. We can stay with my cousin in the countryside. It's a small village, and no one will look for us there. They made their way to the bus station, their hearts pounding with a mixture of fear and excitement. The journey to the countryside was long, and they spent most of it in silence, holding hands and drawing strength from each other. When they arrived at the village, Danny's cousin, Sarah, welcomed them with open arms. She was a kind woman, slightly older than Danny, and she understood their plight. She offered them a place to stay and helped them settle in. Life in the village was simple and peaceful. The village was nestled in the rolling hills of Rwanda, surrounded by lush greenery and terraced fields. The air was fresh and clean, and the pace of life was slow and unhurried. Alice and Danny found solace in the tranquility of the countryside, far away from the prying eyes and judgment of their parents. They spent their days helping Sarah with her farm, exploring the surrounding area, and enjoying each other's company. As the days turned into weeks, Alice felt a deep sense of contentment. She missed her family, but she knew she had made the right decision. She and Danny were building a life together, and their bond was growing stronger with each passing day. One evening, as they sat together under the stars, Danny took Alice's hand. "I know this isn't easy, but I'm so grateful to have you by my side," he said softly. "We'll get through this together." Alice smiled, her heart swelling with love. "I wouldn't want to be anywhere else." "I love you, Danny." "I love you too, Alice," Danny replied, his voice filled with emotion. Back in Kigali, Alice's parents were frantic with worry. They had found her note and had been searching for her ever since. They contacted the police, alerted her friends, and put up missing person posters, but there was no sign of Alice. One day, Naomi, who had been secretly in touch with Alice, decided to intervene. She went to Alice's parents and told them everything about Alice's relationship with Danny, their escape to the countryside, and how happy Alice seemed to be. Alice's parents were shocked and distraught. They had been so focused on their own expectations and fears that they hadn't realized how deeply they were hurting their daughter. Naomi's words made them see things in a new light. "We just want her to be happy," Alice's mother said, tears streaming down her face. "We never wanted to drive her away." Alice's father nodded, his expression somber. "We need to find her and make things right." With Naomi's help, they tracked down Sarah's village and set off to find Alice and Danny. The journey was filled with anxiety and hope. They wanted to see their daughter, to apologize, and to make amends. When they arrived at the village, they were met with curious stares from the villagers. Naomi led them to Sarah's house, where Alice and Danny were working in the garden. Alice looked up, her eyes widening in shock when she saw her parents. "Mom, Dad. What are you doing here?" she asked, her voice trembling. "We came to find you," her mother said, stepping forward. "We've been so worried, Alice. We are sorry. We didn't understand how much this meant to you." Alice's father nodded, his eyes filled with regret. "We were wrong, Alice. We just want you to be happy. If Danny makes you happy, then we will support you." Tears welled up in Alice's eyes as she embraced her parents. "Thank you," she whispered, her heart filled with gratitude. Danny stood nearby, watching the reunion with a hopeful expression. Alice's father turned to him, extending his hand. "I'm sorry, Danny. We should have trusted our daughter. We hope you can forgive us." Danny shook his hand, a smile spreading across his face. "Thank you, sir. I just want what's best for Alice." With their parents' blessing, Alice and Danny returned to Kigali, ready to face whatever challenges came their way. Their love had been tested, but it had emerged stronger than ever. They knew they had a long road ahead, but they were ready to walk it together, hand in hand. Episode 5, Love Always Wins. Alice and Danny's return to Kigali was met with mixed emotions. While they were relieved to be back, they knew that their journey was far from over. They had defied societal norms and faced their parents' initial disapproval, but now they had to build a life together with the support of their families. Alice's parents had taken a significant step by accepting her relationship with Danny, but there were still lingering doubts and concerns. They wanted to get to know Danny better and understand his background. They invited Danny and his family over for dinner, hoping to bridge the gap between their two worlds. The dinner was held at Alice's home, a grand mansion with elegant furnishings and a beautifully landscaped garden. Alice's parents spared no expense hiring a professional chef to prepare a lavish meal. They wanted to make a good impression on Danny's family and show their willingness to support the relationship. Danny and his family arrived, feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They were welcomed warmly, and Alice's parents made an effort to engage them in conversation. Despite the initial awkwardness, the evening turned out to be a success. Both families found common ground and shared stories, laughing and bonding over the meal. Alice's father, in particular, took a keen interest in Danny's aspirations. "So, Danny, I hear you want to become a doctor," he said, his tone genuinely curious. "Yes, sir," Danny replied, his voice steady. "I've always wanted to help people, and I believe that becoming a doctor will allow me to make a positive impact in my community." Alice's father nodded thoughtfully. "That's a noble goal. It's important to have a purpose in life, something that drives you to be better." Danny smiled, appreciating the support. "Thank you, sir. I'm determined to achieve it." As the evening drew to a close, Alice's parents realized how much they had misjudged Danny. He was intelligent, kind, and driven, qualities they had always valued. They saw how happy he made Alice and how committed he was to his future. After dinner, Alice and Danny took a walk in the garden, enjoying the cool evening air. "That went better than I expected," Alice said, her eyes sparkling with relief. "It did," Danny agreed, taking her hand. "I think they're starting to see things from our perspective." In the following weeks, both families continued to spend time together, strengthening their bond. Alice and Danny's relationship grew deeper, and their love flourished in the supportive environment they had fought so hard to create. Alice's parents, now fully supportive, helped Danny with his college applications, using their connections to secure him a scholarship. Danny's parents, proud of their son's achievements, encouraged him to pursue his dreams and supported him every step of the way. One sunny afternoon, Alice and Danny sat together in the park where they had first met. The park was alive with the sound of children playing, the scent of flowers in the air, and the distant hum of the city. They reminisced about their journey, the challenges they had faced, and the love that had carried them through. "We've come a long way," Danny said, his voice filled with wonder. Alice agreed, her eyes shining with love. "And I wouldn't change a thing." As they looked towards the future, they knew that their journey was just beginning. They had dreams to chase, challenges to overcome, and a life to build together. But they were ready, and they knew that as long as they had each other, they could face anything. With their family's support and their unwavering love, Alice and Danny stepped into their future with hope and determination, ready to write the next chapter of their story together.
Thank you for following Alice and Danny's heartfelt journey through love, challenges, and triumph. Their story of overcoming societal barriers and finding acceptance reminds us that true love knows no boundaries. We hope their experiences have inspired and touched you. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more captivating tales. We would love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below and share this story with your friends and family. Your support means the world to us. Thank you.